My name is Srinivasan, first batch, roll number 75. I hail from Tanjore district, a place called Nanilam. Had my school education in different places and my pre-university in AM Jain College, from where I joined IIT subsequently. And when I finished my PUC, those days, obviously one would look for joining Indian Engineering College or AC Tech or one of those colleges. And I was very sure of getting one of them in my way. But getting into IIT was an accident, really. We never knew anything about IIT. No idea of institute of this kind would ever emerge. And I was staying with my uncle in those days. He saw a small insertion in Hindu about this, and then he persuaded me to apply and give priority to this institute than Indian Engineering College, where his son was studying before that. So that took me to IIT. Otherwise, I never knew about IIT in those days. And went through the interview and then joined the institute. I do remember that in those days, my mother used to blame my uncle, his brother, that he has thrown me into a jungle, whereas his son was in Indian Engineering College. Anyway, things have changed completely subsequently.
I am Mahadevan, roll number 1.036/59. It's a very interesting story, I have to say, about my coming into IIT. I also come from a small village near Kumbakonam in Thanjavur district, and it was sheer accident that I came across the advertisement for admission into IIT. Actually, it was shown to me by one of my mentors who was in the same village. And so the only college for which I gave my application for admission was IIT, only engineering college. And as a fallback, I had joined in BSc in Kumbakonam Government Arts College. But when I came to IIT, of course that was the only engineering college for which I also attended interview, and the only college to which I gave my application. It was again with no hope of certainty of joining here, but it was a pleasant surprise that the interview went so well that by the end of the day's interview they gave me admission. I think what clinched the issue was there were some German professors and of course L.S. Srikant in the panel of interviewers. And one question I remember that Han asked me before, first he asked some series, mathematical series, asked me to fill up the subsequent numbers, which I did, and he was convinced that I have a little bit of knowledge on mathematics. He being a mathematician then asked me, where are you from? I said, I am from Kumbakonam. And he said, what is it famous for? Then I said, for intellectuals. He said, name a few. I mentioned Ramanujam's name. Obviously he has heard about that. That clinched the issue, I think. So I got through without much of a difficulty, thanks to Ramanujam.
Actually, we never expected that we would be selected. The only interview was the basis for selection. And later on I thought that one of the criterion is whether this guy will withstand the workshop practice that was yet to come. And based on the health criteria, they have taken somebody or not.
I am Amudhachari, roll number 1002/59. I was born and brought up in Madurai. I studied my schooling in Sebuti High School, which was known famous school and where Bharatiyar was the teacher in the early days. Then I joined Tyagaraja Arts College so that I can go to the Tyagaraja Engineering College, because if you do well those days, you get a chance of going, they themselves will give you admission. Admission was very tough for the engineering those days, but particularly for the forward caste. Then we did finish our PUC. I came to Madras for interview, and I had a 5 distinctions in pre-university. So when I got selected there, and the Mutayan was the something like number secretary of the selection board. He asked me, "Why do you want to go to Charaja College, not Gindi?" He said, "Charaja College is the place where I live in Madurai, and I want to go there." Okay. Then I went back to my city, and then I got a call from the Charaja College. I am selected. It so happened just at that time, IIT Madras was coming up, and we knew IIT Madras is going to come to Chennai, and I applied for that. And we had an interview in Madras AC College campus. We saw 6 people sitting there: Dr. Ramasastri, Venkateshwaralu, S.K. Srinivasan Maths, Dr. Koch Physics, Dr. Han Maths, and Srikant. Srikant was the Under Secretary from the Government of India, sent by them for the project. It was called Special Officer Projects IIT. The interview went on well. In fact, as Mahadevan said, they shoot on, they go on questioning you left, right, center. The interview was over. I came to know the selection criteria was, apart from the interview, your marks in the pre-university and the SSLC or something like that. They had put the rank according to the state, and then rank 1, 2, 3. Madras 1, 2, 3, like state order. All that they had done. But interview was the clinching affair there. I got selected. In the meantime, I am supposed to join Charaja Engineering College. The deadline was already coming. When I got a call from this IIT, my uncle sent a telegram, selected in IIT Madras. I had to go and see the principal of the college, Dr. Natesan, who was the principal. I said, I got an admission in IIT, and Charaja College was a good college those days, one of the very good private engineering colleges. And then he said, I don't want to stand in your way. You are a good student, we want you for our institution. The management knows we ask you to go, they'll feel angry with me. But still, as a gentleman, when you come and ask me my opinion, you join IIT. Then we joined IIT. That's how I entered IIT. But one little thing I knew about, then I questioned about IIT was, there used to be one professor called T. Natarajan, who was American called mathematics professor, and his cousin or his son, Venkatesh, did his metallurgy in IIT Kharagpur and joined Bureau of Mines those days. He said definitely go there because his son was there, and he said to go. So that is a tip I got from him. Naturally, IIT Kharagpur was the first. IIT Bombay was with Russian collaboration. IIT Chennai came with the collaboration of the Germans, and he said it ought to be good. Germans are known for precision and drawing, etc. I joined. That is the input I had got after I got admission here also. Then we joined IIT, and when we joined IIT, there was no classrooms, nothing, no specific buildings was there, but all borrowed buildings. We were in AC College, lectures were there, workshops were in next building, CLRI. Office also was in the same building, I think second floor or in AC College. We had a good time. We didn't have any hostels to stay in the campus itself. So they looked for 2 hostels. One was Saidapet hostels, meant for non-vegetarians, vegetarians, and another for non-vegetarians in Gindi. In fact, the question was there, or the hostel food prepared separately. Yeah, it was meant only for vegetarians. We were in Saidapet. Non-vegetarians used to stay there. So they had kitchen being separate doesn't exist. We had our own kitchen, they had their own kitchen in a different spot.
From the admission process, what you heard now, one thing is clear. None of us would have entered IIT if the competitive examination had been there at that point of time. So it was a big saving grace that we got through with only interview and our marks in the previous exams.
Thanks for non-existence of JEE.
Yeah.
And then we came here. We used to stay in Saidapet hostel. It was meant for the teachers training college. It used to be in the Torhunter Nagar. Still it's available there. If you go in the Saidapet main road, the bus stand there, right?
Have you been there afterwards? I have not seen the place afterwards.
I went there once.
Not the hostel still is there?
I think so. Upon the playground was there. Hostel, you need to go enter inside. Torhunter now Nagar is Saidapet main road. Next to the bus stand, we go right. we can go there. And the hostel was fairly good, I should say. And there's a big audibility is poor.
Yeah, audio fine. You could take this camera.
Okay.
That camera is it?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was seeing Chidambaram.
We can sit here then.
Yeah, better because Swami or Chidambaram, I thought
Yeah, you can sit here. Sir, you can also.
talking to a person is better than talking to a wall.
That's right, not that. Sir,
Sir, Professor Swami?
Audibility is okay.
yeah, audio.
Legibility is good.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. That hostel, it was
Yeah,
a
better.
women's hostel.
Yeah, it was the Saidapet hostel was women's hostel.
And when we were there, it was referred to as old women's hostel.
Yes.
Either old women's hostel or old women's hostel. Either way you could take it.
The hostel was old,
We occupied
not meant for old women.
Young boys occupied the hostel.
And we remember Ganapati Iyer, who was in charge of the mess, who took excellent care of us in the first year.
And food was good, vegetarian of course. And suppose you come late, there is a premium for that because people have aloo curry, the fried potato. They used to cook very fast and hot, so they used to serve it. Food was good, and we used to say room was like a pa shape, Tamil pa, center and then like this. 3 rooms were on the sides. It was a 2-storied building. We were in the first floor, and our associate
were
started very
batchmates.
early. We were the
We were
roommates.
roommates. Also in the hostel.
Hostel, we were in the first floor, and then Subramaniam was our sir.
DS
Subramaniam was my next roommate. We call him. He is the warden.
He's the warden.
Deputy warden. Warden was Dr. Venkateshwarlu. In fact, he was one of the persons who was sitting in the interview. He basically is a chemical engineer. He was from IIT Kharagpur. Most of them came from Ramasastri came from IIT Kharagpur. Srinivasan, and they all came from there. Srinivasan was doctorate in the stochastic process. He was in maths department at that time. Nigam came much later. And our time, a lot of German professors were there.
We were in the hostel, and initially the classes were in AC College, and most of the classes were in AC College, workshops, drawing, etc. CLRA we used to visit once in a while. The canteen was good in CLRA. And when the institute buildings started coming up, we had to commute the following year from the hostel to the institute. And if you remember right, institute gave us cycles.
I don't
Yeah,
think
they did. In
They
fact,
did. They
IIT
did.
Madras, only
They-
coming was by cycle.
And they provided cycles for us.
So from Tadanda to Nagar to AC College itself is a commute.
You know,
Yes,
that is
no,
correct.
and I'll tell you.
You walked or you?
No, we
No.
have got 2 ways of coming. If you come by road, you come to Sedapet, Marmalong, it's called some other name, then come to Taluk office, Gindi Engineering College, cross that, and then enter AC College and come there. If you come by cycle. Other way was, we can walk across, cross the Adaya River, give 3 paise for the boat, cross the boat, and then go to the
Walk down there.
Gindi hostels were there. They used to be
So-
old days E block, all the blocks were there. We go there and go to AC College.
So we were all ferrying. Most of the time we were ferrying across to the.
And
That's
the
right.
beauty is, even the cycle, IIT was so generous, they didn't give the cycle to us free, but they arranged for a cycle, to take a cycle, they had a deal. All of us were given cycles. I think 10 rupees or something, they took it from, every month we had to pay.
They had
So
an
very nice
arrangement,
of them. So we all,
yes, it was not a free gift.
free gift. They said, take the loan, cycle you take, something like a loan, but give 10 rupees or so per month. And there are some fellows who are smart, they use the cycle, come up to the boat, sit in
Take
the
the
boat,
cycle.
put the cycle also there,
Yeah, we all did that.
and then cycle will also be ferried,
Yeah.
then get into cycle again here. That was the mode of transport. Hardly any one of us, I didn't think any one of them had a scooter or a car to go. Gindi boys who used to come from the main road and come to the institute side, we used to come by the backyard.
There was a risk element involved in walking up to the river and crossing by boat. There was this YMCA's golf club which was on the way. So you have to cross the golf course before you reach the bank of the river. And you will see, the golf balls fizzing past your ear occasionally. Hopefully it won't hit you. then you will have to reach that river, go past that, and the boys in the hostel in Gindi Engineering College was on the way. You have to cross the hostels before you come to AC College, and there is always the chance of those guys ragging you. So these are the two risk factors in coming to AC College.
But we had this transport challenge for quite some time, including one rainy season, and I still remember that not a single day of class was missed out because of rain. All of us, irrespective of the climate or weather or whatever it is, we used to cycle across and reach the college and attend the class.
Raincoat and
It's not what it is today.
And the classes were in AC College. The halls used to be long one, and then suppose hit at the back, visibility may not be good. I was not wearing the glass those days. After I joined IIT, when suppose I go to the last bench, I always a front bencher in the school or college. So when I sat in the last bench, I could not see the board. Clarity was not there. Then I went and got my eyes tested. Then I started wearing glass. Actually, I started wearing glass after I joined IIT.
So what was the first class ever held for IIT? So what subject and who did it? Which classroom? Do you remember it?
Classroom was only one classroom was there in the second floor, I think, in AC College. Those times you used to have 2 weeks like this. 1 week is called academic week. All the 7 periods, used to have 7 periods, 4 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. We used to have subjects only. All
Basically,
in
those
maths,
days we had physics, chemistry, mathematics, and
another week
drawing was there.
Another week was called workshop week. We used to have both drawing 3 hours or 3 sessions and workshop 3 hours. First period was something, maybe English or something. We used to have humanities subject was there, for which we didn't have our own professor. A.L. Krishnan used to come from Jain College.
That happened afterwards. When we came to the campus.
A.L.K. came to there itself. He has taught us there. In
I
No,
don't think, I don't think
no.
so.
Only
I don't
here.
think.
English he taught us there.
Only here.
He came here.
Professor Sengupta was very imaginative, realizing that the entire time we are spending in science subjects all the way through, he thought he would give us a break, and therefore he requested Professor A.L. Krishnan, who was an authority on Shakespeare, and he used to come and take Shakespeare 1 hour in a week, if I remember right. And believe me, that hour was something which all of us were looking forward to. And every student, whether they attend other classes or not, they will wake up early. The first lecture in the morning, 7 o'clock or 7:30. They would come down, hall would be full, not a single absenteeism. After that, they'll go back and sleep again, but they wouldn't miss the Shakespeare class.
The secret of his success was that A, he can recite the entire Hamlet without referring to Shakespeare book, and B, he was an excellent mono actor.
Yeah, that's right.
So he will stand on the podium and he will mono act the entire monologue of Hamlet on the stage, and it used to be so entertaining that nobody would dare miss his class.
Yes, he would never
They
miss
may
his
miss
class.
physics class or chemistry class, but they would not miss his class.
In fact,
Because
he is,
the challenge in attending the classes of German professors like Professor Koch or Professor Hahn was first of all you have to decipher his Germanic English, because they used to pronounce it differently. So whether that was a greater challenge or the subject was the greater challenge is a question. So it used to be difficult to actually follow what the German professors were saying.
And A.L.K. used to, Macbeth, it means, still I remember the way, to be or not to be the famous
It's Hamlet.
Hamlet. That he used to do. Then we also had, sometimes used to act Othello, the scene. And we had a novel, Lost Horizon was the novel we had to. James Hilton's one novel was there. That was the novel, other things Shakespeare. They were the curriculum.
As a first batch students, we saw all the facilities, laboratories and workshops coming after us. So we were looking back to see the laboratories coming up. It was a handicap. We didn't get all the equipment, all facilities which students subsequently enjoyed But to compensate for that, we had outstanding faculties, because all the senior professors who had come down to IIT, the first year, they were very keen to see that the first batch gets the best input. And we had some outstanding professors all through, both Indian and the German professors, as Mahadevan said, with the challenge of understanding. They are all experts in their own field. So we were very fortunate to have had some outstanding teachers in our.
There were many aspects those days which would look very stupid to today's students. For example, we had 1 week a workshop, and can you imagine that for the whole week, 3 hours every day, we used to file and file and file away in the fittings class just to make a cube out of a cylinder, a steel cylinder, and this would take us weeks together before we arrive at the final shape, you know. And in today's context, it would appear that it would be a stupid thing to do, but it's something that sort of got ingrained, that you are not going to be an engineer if you are going to shy away from physical work. That is something that was ingrained in us, you know. So that is something which we owe to the German system of giving emphasis to practical work for being a good engineer.
And they believed in drawing. In fact, Dr. Scheer was from Germany. He was for turbo mechanics, turbo machines. Whereas he took drawing in the first year, we used to have Dr. Srinivasan and Padmanabhan. They were the teachers. They used to come together. And Scheer was so good, and Scheer was also very strict. Scheer used to say, drawing is the language of engineers. That is the philosophy. And drawing, they were very particular. As he said, workshop filing, drawing, we have done lettering for about 2 months or so. ABCD, 75 degrees, that's all rule you have to follow. Drawing means should be pakka. Then they also insisted on correct pencil to be used, correct thickness, H2H, 3H, B, 2B, like that. And use this for this, use center line should be like this, so much of slash, dot, dot, dot. Then hatching cross should be thin lines, and lines should meet properly. In fact, our drawings, if we don't do correctly, Dr. Scheer will come, and wherever the corner is not meeting correctly, he will circle. They are very, very particular about drawing. Similarly, workshoppers, they said engineer ought to be on the shop floor. They should know. You can be a good engineer if you are good on machine tools. In fact, we had 1 or 2 very bright students who could not withstand this, because if you do filing, bubbles will come here like this. So one Sundaram, who was very good, he had to go because he said he cannot manage the workshop those days.
I remember in Dr. Scheer's class that Amudhachari talked about, Scheer used to look at the pencil before he looks at the drawing. If you have not sharpened the pencil properly, Stedler used to be the pencil that you must buy, and if you have not sharpened your pencil correctly for doing the drawing, he would not even correct your drawing. He will say, you redo your pencil, then I will come back. That is the sort of importance. I mean, it may look ridiculous now, because you don't even use pencils and do a drawing on a drawing board using T-squares and Z-squares. People go directly to CAD. So you realize that that was a different sort of system.
But I don't feel it's wrong.
The concept of T-squares, instrument box, and slide rule for computation, those were our
armory,
our support systems, the infrastructure, the ecosystem we had at that time. So I suggest you keep them in the heritage center. What we used to be the tools in those days.
And when he said this slide rule, Germans had given a slide rule board, big board, which can be put on like this. The sliding, same thing, big, very big size, and then they can also make the slide go up and down. They can even teach. They had that facility. And in fact, there's a joke. He said we had a classmate called Suri, because they were all asked to train to use the slide rule. His name was Mahesh Kumar Suri, MK Suri. He's from Delhi. We used to always use the slide rule, and he would say 2 into 2 is 3.9999 very accurately. 2 into is 4. Then people used to make for him. Suri took the slide rule to bazaar. Suri took the slide rule to market, like that. But they taught us to use the slide rule, and then for the exams We also had the mechanical calculators, not these calculators. We used to have machines where you can go on calculating. They were given, and methods were good. We were taught well. I should say, in all fairness, I should say he joined later. Our teachers were competing with each other to teach us who will teach well, and we had a tutorial system: physics, chemistry, maths. We used to be split into 4 batches of 30 each. 120 was the strength, 30 each batch 30. And again the 30 will be split into 10. 3 HTAs or HTAs, senior or junior technical student, they used to, for example, physics, Ramana was there, Gopalam was there, Srinivasan. Those 3 will teach 10. We classes, calculation, maths, auto sums, etc. They will be teaching. They will be supervising 10 students each. Similarly, maths, DS was my tutor. R. Subramaniam, he was another tutor. And so happened, one more Subramani from Trivandrum. So we used to have a convention. So we say Mysore Mani, Tamil Nadu Mani, and Kerala Mani. They were teaching us maths and chemistry also. So the system was so tough, you cannot escape. They give you a lot of work, you have to do and come and show. They will guide. The advantage was, as he rightly said, drilling was very clear and they used to follow very closely. Ratio of 1:10, something you can't afford. Can you imagine for tutor class 10 boys at one tutor? That means the coaching was good, and the most significant IIT study was, question was semester or the exams were all surprise. The German believed in periodic exam. We all come to the class, they say today take a test. You don't know, test will come. Surprise test with the order of the day. By this, what they made us be ever ready to take a test. That is, you should be thorough. You cannot miss a class. And this way, we were prepared well. And some exams we were also allowed open book, because the questions are so tough, particularly when you came to the final year and 3 or 3rd or 4th years, design and all, tough calculation. You need tables. You need so many reference points too. So they allowed open book.
If I have to point out one
open books were always tougher than the closed book exams.
If I have to point out one handicap, of course there was a lot of emphasis on surprise tests and being always ready about the academic teachings and all that. But on the other side, on the extracurricular activities, the facilities that were available were not up to the mark. They were coming up along with us, there wasn't any proper ground for various activities. Gymkhana itself started only after we moved in here, and Dr. Venkateshwarlu was the person who initially started that. So for the first 3 years, I would say there was not a great deal of facilities for sports. In spite of that, there were individuals who excelled in specific sports. Lionel Paul, for instance, from 3rd year onward, he took every cup in the city on tennis. And Dominic was very good in athletics. He went to Bombay and represented us. So there was some exceptions in individual sports, but there was no facility that would build a team for team sports.
Say that, but only
a question about the curriculum, sir. You had maths courses throughout the
all
your stay.
5 years.
All 5 years.
5 years we had.
That is another departure from what other engineering, even the current engineering curriculum, does not give that much of importance to maths. But in our period, maths was.
You were equal to MSCs when you left.
Yes, the maths was given a lot of focus.
Dr. SK was the professor. Nigam came later, and was an excellent professor he was, but he was very fast. He taught us so many things, Bessel function, so many things they taught us, which we may not even use, but it was very tough. We had physics also for years. Of course, physics they had, material science they used to call.
But the reason some of it was actually truncated in subsequent courses was 5 years was reduced to 4 years. So you had to naturally give up quite a bit. One example is metallurgy. I have a feeling that the mechanical engineers studied more metallurgy in our time than the mechanical engineers of today. They have much less of metallurgy. Similarly, mathematics and physics, not the same amount that was taught to us is included in the syllabus now. So these are some of the handicaps in the current system.
And play means, Saida Bhatt had a table tennis court, table tennis room. It was table tennis room plus radio room. No TV was there, only radio. people used to gather for Binaka those days. All the North Indians particularly, they used to go and gather in the room crowd. Binaka songs will be there. Competition 1, 2, 3, 4. That I mean the early 60s and late 50s.
Or test match commentary.
Tennicoit.
There will be a whole group of fellows sitting and listening to the test match
And
commentary.
we all used to only play Tennicoit because it is in the Tennicoit court was there at the.
To recall some of the professors who taught us in those days, many of the German professors were not only theoreticians, but they were very practical. They had experience of working in industry. To give an example, Dr. Quedden, who taught us machine design, I remember that he used to give a problem, and we used to
Struggle.
derive, do a lot of calculations to arrive at the dimensions and structural elements, etc., and finally make up a drawing. He would come back at the end. He wouldn't look at what we have done as calculations. He would look at the drawing and look at the problem and say, this link, there is a mistake you have made. Because for this load, this will break down. Just looking at the drawing and the size, we go back and check, we found that there was a mistake in that particular link. That's the kind of a practical exposure they had, along with the theoretical knowledge that they imparted. We had that kind of professors who were helping us in those 5 years.
I think he was in the Air Force or something.
Both Germans and Indian professors also were outstanding professors at the time.
Another outstanding professor was Stahl,
Stahl.
who was a mechanical engineering professor. He joined later, not in the first 2 years, but joined later. My memory is that he came from an automotive industry. He was a chief engineer already there, and he came on lean to teach us for a few years. He used to give practical example of what happens in the industry, which comes out of a person who has that flair for always combining theoretical knowledge with practical examples.
We were fortunate to be taught by people like Dr. Ramashastri in physics. Professor Sampath taught us electronics. He used to make the electronic class as interesting as the movies you see today, the Bahubali like movies. The electrons knocking around, the way he lectures, it looks like Mahabharata war. So
In fact,
interesting. We had that kind of professors.
Normally
Dr.
the feeling is the technocrats or college the engineering process are not so fluent in English. Yes, Natarajan was excellent as registrar. In fact, if somebody can equal Natarajan, it was Sampath. Sampath, at times I just used to write whatever he said because it was so nice to hear. He was an excellent speaker, orator I should say. And he was excellent, really excellent professor, means he is one of the English, particularly no technocrat can match his
In fact, you can't isolate any one professor. There were many of them of that caliber.
Another classic example was D.V. Reddy. D.V. Reddy used to be so fluent in explaining a dry subject that nobody would like to miss a class of D.V. Reddy. He used to be so fluent in language.
Not only fluent, I still remember he gave a small anecdote that one author named Purnalingam published a book in applied mechanics, and he expected that to be sold like hotcakes. But after a month or so in the market, he found that there's no taker at all. So he withdrew all the books, changed the cover, and said, book by Macmillan Roop, which is reverse of Purnalingam. It was sold out in no time because it's a name which is unknown. You still remember some of those anecdotes and jokes they used to talk.
And when he said D.V. Reddy, he was always famous for this. He'll put one step, did he follow? Is it right? Next step, is it right? So students will from the back will say, is it right? Or somebody used to count. Today, what is the score? 40. But very good, was very good teacher. And in fact, still we remember free ride theory. It's called Castigliano's theorem. The way he taught that subject was still somehow that we would have forgotten the technical aspect. But the way he rendered, we have not forgotten.
Professor Anantaraman used to make economics so interesting. One would never believe in that. And Dr. Vairana Pillai making history so interesting. We had so many subjects. not necessarily only technical subjects, but a lot of
Anantaraman
exposure
is-
to various things.
And he said, Anantaraman, he came from Wisconsin. He was a tough looking man, and suppose student wants to catcall at the back, student, be careful. I am from Annamalai and Pachepas College. I can deal with any one of you. That's all. That is how he used to talk. But he's an excellent teacher he was.
We had,
And Krishnamurti were talking English. He used to have a roaring voice. Today you talk about mic, adjustability and all. No mic was there those days. Krishnamurti talks loud. Beautifully he'll talk. Are you able to hear my voice? Yes, sir. Came the noise from the next room. That is how they. ALK was an actor, mono actor.
we had very good
Excellent teachers they were.
teachers.
I
in
think
all subjects, all
wherever
subjects.
they could not find appropriate faculty for teaching certain subjects, the IIT never hesitated, even in those days, to get experts from outside. National Productivity Council, they lent a few people to teach us safety, industrial safety, methods engineering. I mean subjects that were not possible to be covered by the existing faculty, they always borrowed from outside, but excellent people. They came and taught for a short period of time. That is, IIT's director makes sure that the students will get all the lecture, all the subject knowledge that is required, irrespective whether IIT is able to provide the faculty or not.
And supplementing what he said, in the final year we used to have design elective or production elective. Most of us took production elective. In that, industrial engineering was the topic. Those days, in the early 60s or early 60s, NPC was one of the best institutions for all the techniques of plant layout, cost control, plant layout. So all the subjects they were very good, they were practical also. So they brought lecturers to code names, Anjaneyulu, Anantakrishnan, and for cost accounting a man all the way came from Delhi, cost accounting, budget control. Like we had excellent teachers that way. And for safety, they asked the Madras Chief Inspector of Factories, Paramanayakam, he is very famous. He used to teach safety so well. This fellow went on the ladder, he saw somebody hearing, Atan, Atan, Atan. He fell down, Chatan, Chatan. This is how he used to teach. Some of this I can't forget. Even 80 years, 90 years, I cannot forget this. He said that means, then he'll say, when you climb up a ladder, the ladder should be nice, all rungs should be physically present, you should be strong, you should mind your business, attempt to only the job you are supposed to do, not listen to something else. Then he will say, what is the unsafe act? What is the unsafe condition? Accidents do not happen. They are created, you will say. Example is unsafe act, unsafe condition. Slippery floor, you fall down, unsafe condition. You didn't see correctly, you didn't paint correctly, unsafe act. So today, wherever I go, even now I will say, accidents do not happen, they are created. Either unsafe condition or unsafe act. But that way, hats off to some of the teachers. We can't.
What we missed in terms of laboratories, we were more than compensated through the faculty and the teaching that we had at the time. Of course, as Mahadevan said, the other activities did not pick up for quite some time. I don't know when OIT was halfway through.
Yeah, so 62, 63 only it came up.
And
So even the first year we didn't have OIT. The convocation, however, was held in OIT. So by that time that came up.
Were you
OITs,
all mechanical engineers or which departments?
all
All
the
the
mechanical.
all of us.
mechanical.
And the OITs were used for film show. We used to have a film club. The question was here in days, we didn't have a film show. Workshop buildings, one of the workshop building, it was not occupied fully. Hall used to be long. So we used to have normal English films will be screened. We'll all go for fun, film club. And somebody will be say, what's happening? Hey, that's called Purakada. You don't know what's happening there. Fellow will be giving commentary side by side. He'll give another story side by side. And first films were held in the, first OIT use was for the film. We used to have Saturday nights, 8
That is
o'clock.
still
After food
continuing,
we
I
come, go to the film theatre.
I think that's still continuing. The Saturday night movies.
That was the, we started, movies.
started at the time.
I must say the institute days were milestones, in our life during that time. We had dignitaries come for institute days, like Rajaji came once, and we had C. Subramaniam came once. So like that we had dignitaries come, and invariably there will be a talk by Mr. Natarajan, our
Yes.
registrar.
That was the highlight.
The highlight of the institute day always used to be his talk. He will talk for about half an hour, and absolutely marvelous oration he used to give. People used to just stay back only to listen to him. That used to be the kind of activities very interesting activities we had.
We didn't have the current the Mardi Gras science shows, etc. in those days. They were not there at the time. They were not.
Administrative pure, being popular student is something rare, and Natarajan was rarity. And
Yeah.
he knew how to attract students. Those days, normally even now, people like cricket. So he will talk about cricket. He will talk about, in fact, one of the articles written, my team to Mars. He was a very keen cricketer. He is a tennis player, table tennis. He used to come to hostel and play table tennis with us. That is how he used to lose students. Normally, whenever we want to have somebody to talk, hostel day means first choice will be Natarajan.
Institute day and hostel day. That
He-
was
he is-
also a
he was
highlight.
the
We
choice.
had to.
And so
Quite a lot of talents in the students in music and dance. They were displayed in the hostel days. Hostel days used to be quite attractive.
Skits, there used to be skits during those hostel days.
We
Very
remember-
entertaining.
We remember Venkateshwaran,
Quiz.
Mohan,
Venki, Mohan.
They were all
They were from Christian
music,
college.
music and
Before
dance,
coming
etc.,
here.
etc. So
They were quiz masters.
The first two hostels to come up were Kaveri and Krishna, and most of the time we were actually in Kaveri only right from the time we entered the campus up to the time we left. It was in Kaveri, but Krishna had also come up. By the time Kaveri was finished, Krishna was already there, and the second batch came into Krishna just before we came into Kaveri, and the only two other hostels that were added was Narmada and Tapti. By the time we left, these four hostels were there. I must give credit to the superintendent of superintending engineer
Ramaswamy.
Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
Why Ramaswamy he was called? He was extremely good in ensuring that all the building work that needed to be done was accelerated and finished as per plan.
In fact, we used to make a joke those days. Engineering, for current we say three-phase circuit. Red, yellow, blue. Right? So, B is Sengupta. B Sengupta was his initial. S is Ramaswamy. Then
Y Ramaswamy.
Y Ramaswamy, yellow. Then Natarajan was R Natarajan. So they were the people who drove the IIT those days. Three of them were there. They administration Natarajan, technical side Sengupta, and engineering construction and Ramaswamy. He came from, I think, Karnataka. He's a superintending engineer. Apart from this attraction of Ramaswamy was, he had a nice girl-looking daughter called Geeta. So some of the boys used to say Geeta is coming like that. That was the attraction. And life was good. They took care of us. And Sengupta also taught us actually. He took us theory of structures. He came from VJT Bombay.
He taught us air
The
conditioning.
structures.
Air conditioning.
Apra theory structures நடத்தினார் அவர்.
He
அப்புறம்
was
Victor taught.
actually air
Short.
conditioning.
Air conditioning.
Refrigeration
With
air
that,
conditioning
then
was his subject.
structures is taught, and then Victor took over later. He
I
was
remember the air conditioning classes and surprise
I
texts
also
that he used to
remember,
give.
correct. This, this the logo of IIT and Siddhir Bhavati Karmaja, I don't remember seeing that displayed or talked about in the first year. After we moved here, in civil engineering building, the current civil engineering building was the first building to come up, just outside in the lawn. That was a few months after we came in, that the Siddhir Bhavati Karmaja and this thing was made in the lawn just outside IIT.
In fact, currently we are thinking of doing it up.
Oh.
Right now it is in a very bad shape.
Okay.
So one of the heritage
I think that is something which you should do, because that was done on the lawn.
We discussed this
It was
in
an
the last
excellent emblem of this. Similarly, the Gajendra circle that you see now is different from the Gajendra circle that was in existence at that time. That was again, I think it was a creation of the design was a creation of Natarajan, our registrar, who said that we should have a symbol in the center where all these roads meet.
And the
because there were
naming
four-
of the roads was again his imagination.
Bonn Avenue,
Bonn Avenue
and Delhi Avenue,
Avenue.
and also naming of the hostels, Kaveri,
Hostels
Krishna, by rivers, and the buses used to be Kanchenjunga and mountains.
In fact, it is somebody's IIT's idiosyncrasy, because we call moving objects by mountains. Static name object like a hostel is given name of running river. This IIT's idiosyncrasy is something unique to our culture.
There was no school at that time.
Can I take you back to the starting of the institute, sir, when the foundation stone was laid after your classes started, I think?
Yes, yes,
so
yes.
Can you tell us about that ceremony? Were you there and what happened?
The foundation stone.
Where was it laid? Yes.
It was in AC College. That's why we talked about people like Chandrakant, Humayun Kabir.
Humayun Kabir was
They
the
were
man
all
who
there.
did it actually.
They were all there at the time. But the first function that we had to lay the foundation stone, and after that classes were held there. And this was a jungle coming up, getting transformed into a.
Was there a big gathering? I mean, the people who came to the birth of the institute.
We won't know, but I presume it must have happened, but I don't know. I don't remember exactly.
I also don't remember, but actually the function was held between AC College and CLRA. You know, there was an open space there. That is where the pandal was put, and the inaugural function was held. Of course, Humayun Kabir did the foundation stone laying, and the other dignitaries that were there was A.L. Mudalia, Chandrakant, of course, Director B. Sengupta, Natarajan, and there was a representative of Tamil Nadu government also. And that is the first function that was held on behalf of the institute. But definitely that was not held inside the campus, it was held
It was in
outside.
AC College, yeah.
And then it was shifted here, I think.
Right. And the question about the curriculum. In the final semester, did you have a project to work on, or what?
We did have.
What did you do?
We had design means you take a design you have to do for design elective fellows. In fact, I did EOT crane design. Dr. Parmeshwaran, MA MAP, he was my guide. In fact, he is a materials handling man. In fact, the materials handling was a very strong department mechanical those days, because Parmeshwaran, Sur, they are all basically mechanical handling experts.
Was the mechanical handling lab there at that time, or when did it come up?
Very small lab, not lab I should say. The room of Parmeshwaran and Sur was the place where I used to work my drawing and all. I used to go and work in their room. We used to have sliding drawing board and all. For design I used to use it extensively.
Where was that lab, sir? Where was it?
There is no mechanical handling lab those days as such, to my knowledge.
Only IC Engines lab had come at the name.
Initially, the IC engines experiments were done in Guindy Engineering College. We
Right,
went to
that's
their
right.
laboratory and
Correct,
did
correct,
it.
correct.
So,
Guindy.
till 63, there was no IC engines lab at all. So, it came up only after that.
After that, before we
About
left.
this
Workshop was fully installed.
practical training, I think IIT was aware that their laboratories and workshops were not up to the mark. So, they tried to compensate that by factory visits, which they organized regularly for us. We have visited several factories around, and giving us a project which needs to be done in the industry. So, I worked in Union Carbide for a project which was chosen. We said you must be there for so many years. That is where actually there was a guide from the industry. Prahlad C.K. Prahlad, who later became a management guru, was our guide or mentor like from the industry side. So like that they had organized to substitute the lack of facilities within the IIT by factory visits and factory based projects.
You asked for the elective project, you asked a question. This is the answer. For those who took the production elective,
Yeah.
we have to go to a factory. We have to do a project on a working spot on the site, what they call on the shop, off the floor. That is what they talk in management language. So on the spot, I went to Tube Products of India. There is a line consisting of some presses and machines where you have to balance the time. That was the project I did. Each man had to do a project in that particular area. And design also is an elective. Where I did design, I designed an EOT crane, for which guide was Dr. Parmeshwaran. And they gave, in fact, the full marks. One paper was, weightage was given, one paper, one of the 12 subjects in the final year was product engineering project. That is one paper. Then you asked about the grading systems in IIT. One of the questions was there. We had a system of grading. S was superior, above 80. Then A, 70 to 80.
A plus was, I remember.
A was between the
Did
two.
we have A plus? I remember
don't
we had,
remember.
I remember that we had an A plus.
S was the topmost.
Yes,
Yes
above
was the
80.
topmost.
Superior. That's what somebody said.
Yeah, then A plus.
And then
A,
it was
B, C, D.
A, B, C like that.
D is
Maybe A plus.
failure. C is average. Maybe 30, 40 to 50 or something, I don't know.
50 above.
50 and above, or 40 and above.
50 and above.
Then A, B was above 60.
Yes.
But the system of continuous evaluation of a student was introduced from day one. It was never dependent on the final examination. So there was a limited weightage for the final examination, but periodicals and what happened during the course was given adequate coverage or weightage, so that it is not one spot evaluation but a continuous evaluation of a student.
And
That
if
was introduced. Today it is in vogue. It was there from the beginning itself in the institute.
But I think the open book examination that IIT practiced was a complete departure from what was happening elsewhere in the country, in any other university. So that was something which was very novel, and it ensured that you do not go by rote memory, you go by your thinking faculty. Unless you are able to think out what you need to do, you would never be able to score. That is the idea. So I think basically that is another thing we should be grateful to the IIT system, and that is it makes you a thinking engineer. It doesn't make you an engineer who simply memorizes things. That is a very, very good part of the system, and this was started right from the first year.
And the project you do, your teacher evaluates, but there is an outside examiner. You used to have an outside examiner coming and evaluating the project, and his mark is there. Not only your immediate supervisor may bias, whatever be the reason, to have a double check. One outsider used to be there. We had an viva, wherein an outside professor or expert will come. Your professor will sit or guide will sit. They value together. And if I remember correct, the rating was 1, 1, 1 for the first 3 years, 2 for the 4th year, and 3 for the 5th year. Totally 8. This is my memory. They had a system totally for because you cannot give the same weightage for the final year and the first year. So first year weightage 1, second year 1, third year 1, 3, 4th year 2, and 5th year. This is what I vaguely remember. This is what I was told by them. So totally, it's 8.
Were the faculty quarters there at the time, or they came up later?
No,
I don't remember.
Sengupta was staying here inside only.
Yes, Sengupta was here.
So some quarters had already
quarters-
come.
no,
Shear was staying in that.
Just as we came,
Okay.
we didn't have place to stay.
Yeah.
Most of the process, when
They
they
also
started,
stayed inside.
no quarters was there for them. Venkateshwarlu was, I was talking to Swami, say, he used to live in Nehru Nagar, Adayar. Most of them, they didn't have quarters for them. But beauty was, students have to be only in the institute. I still remember, my sister was living in Adayar, Nehru Nagar, where Venkateshwarlu was opposed to my house. And Santanam, he was also in Adayar, very near my house. Being in Adayar and coming from Siddharpet is a joke. So my good friend Santanam's elder brother, a teacher, he went and asked, IIT was so strict about residential institution. His brother asked, sir, IIT hostel and far. I am in Adayar, very near. Can my brother be with me? Then this Chandrakant was a very tough administrator. Don't you have eyes to see the prospectus? Because the prospectus said IIT is a residential institution. They didn't allow the boys to be staying away from there. I think now
Those
shortage
days,
is there, rooms perhaps.
Yeah,
They allow.
now they permit.
And the teachers, most of them stayed outside. Slowly only the Venkateshwarlu, everybody stayed practically outside the campus.
What were the hostel fees and how much were the tuition fees
Oh,
you paid?
hostel
Because
fees,
you know that,
tuition fees are 500 rupees.
Hostel fees, I remember that it was around 100 rupees per month.
No, much less than
No,
that.
no. When we started
70
40 rupees in Saidapet.
60 rupees, 70 rupees.
40,
that range only.
Saidapet 40 rupees.
Towards the end, it was around 100.
But when we started with 40 rupees in
Yeah,
Saidapet.
it was only in that region, 40, 50. It came up to 70 if I
And room
remember
rent
right
I
when we
think is
came
only
here.
100 rupees per annum.
Nothing more
or so,
than
right?
that.
Huh? No, I-
100 rupees or so per annum. And first year we had to.
But that was a good number. So in those days, so So when we came out, our salaries were I was one of the highest paid engineers to get 450 rupees per month. So that was.
I was not that lucky. I got 401. There was a time when we also went on strike briefly because there was no water in the hostel. And if I remember right, the students gathered outside Professor Sengupta's house and made a lot of noise about this water scarcity.
Another occasion was when Dr. Chowdhury was warden of Kaveri Hostel. He introduced food which was Bengali food totally, and most of us could not manage it. So we had to struggle hard to combine along with other food.
See, the other thing that I must give credit to the IIT is that in a batch of only 120, we had representation from 16 states.
Yeah, that's right.
The students were so multicultural. I mean, that is for the first time. Now, of course, it may become very common thing, but not those days. Go to any other college or university within India, it used to be localized, the people. But IIT had representation from 16 states in the 120. And of course, the largest contingent was from, but if I remember right, the second largest contingent was Bengal.
My roommate, next man was
now,
Andhra.
Because of
This
JEE,
guy Orissa.
there are clusters.
Clusters, yes, that's right, you can go.
Yeah, in those days it was not there. So it was really widespread. We had people from all parts of the country.
So it was multicultural, in the hostel itself, you will find all languages being, thrown up at the same time. Babel tower.
And food being non-veg, veg separately in the first year, when he came inside the Kaveri hostel, same hall, but two different counters, non-veg that side and vegetarian this side.
Yes.
Same hall was there. Whereas the first year in the Kaveri, in the Sadapet hostel, only we were there, only vegetarians were there. That was one of the questions here. Was there separated?
Campus was green, and Professor Sengupta started off maintaining the campus those days. I heard that anyway want to fell a tree, he has to give in writing an approval for doing that in those days. Fortunately, it has been maintained. It hasn't improved. The campus still remains as beautiful as it was in those early days.
It was a bit risky to drive, ride your cycle from here to Adayar, because Adayar was the nearest spot where you can get something. The shopping complex here came up only in the last year of our stay. Till that time, the shopping complex had not come up. So we need to go to Adayar. Of course, they were running buses going up to that. But riding a bicycle was a bit risky because you had these deer crossing the road, and some of them can get scared and jump over the cycle and knock you off. This is one risk.
The hostel's construction about Kaveri, it was shape was like a H. Wing, one wing, 12 rooms, then two wings like this, 12, 12, 24, center wing, 12, another two, totally 72 rooms. And the interesting construction about the hostel was, after the last room, there used to be a gap, then toilet. It was, we came to know later on, it was designed by Sengupta very specially because he didn't want to have the toilet adjoined to the wall of the student room. So this gap is called the Sengupta pass.
It was a single room, if you remember saying.
All of us had a single room.
All of us had.
My room was actually, because roll number 2 was there, Kaveri hostel, I used to stay in the first floor. All of us had first 72 were roll number 1, 2, like that it used to come. So my room was second from the toilets, but we never had any toilet smell or this thing. That way, everything, room number were given not on any priority. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, clearly. Srinivasan room number 75, roll number means we know that room number is, his room number is 175. My number is roll number 2, 172. Like that, we had some
In
system.
Saidapat, it was 2 persons to a room. But in Kaveri hostel, when we came, it was 1 person, 1 room. So that was a luxury in comparison to what you have in the rest of the state or rest of the country. That was a luxury we enjoyed. I'm not sure whether it is there now. It must be more than 1 per room, probably.
And now with the shortage, I'm not sure, so yes.
Oh, that's what I think.
What was the campus like, sir? I mean, because when you came, there were no buildings almost, except for the civil engineering department.
Yes.
What, is it true that there was the hostel area was bare of trees. There were no trees there because the pictures we don't see trees.
Yes, it's true. Kaveri Krishna hostel was on barren stretch. This side, that is after that gate, when you enter, Taramani hostel came up after Kaveri, and that was called Taramani hostel.
The officer's house.
Officers called.
Officers
That
house.
officers house hostel came up after Kaveri and Krishna. So just inside the campus it used to be all green, but just outside it used to be completely barren. Krishna, Kaveri, Narmada, Tapti, that entire area was barren land. And the hostel came up there, but this side of the campus was completely green.
Right.
But the Velachari entrance is open, so we could go out through Velachari to buy a few things and a few things. Otherwise,
Professor Swami told me that you could actually, there were waterways up to the stadium or beyond that. Have you ever seen boats going on there? He told me that Professor Sengupta brought boats there once, right up to Stadium.
You know, this whole campus is a sort of a longish stretch, right from the entrance. I mean, we didn't have two gateways, by the way. Outside on the main road, we used to have only one. The entry and exit was only one. And it was a longish sort of stretch, the area if you see. One edge of that had a lake, had a mini lake, you know, and that was also a longish lake. That used to be full of water. But there was, I don't remember there was any boating.
yeah.
But
I
there
don't
was
remember.
a, do you remember
No,
any
no,
boat?
no.
No, I don't remember any boats, but that was a longish stretch of waterway. Similarly, I also remember on the way to Velacheri, there was a small pond there. There used to be a small pond, but that disappeared subsequently.
But there are not enough roads to go to the lake or so. It is not commonly accessible to people to go.
Because the only two roads that were first laid was the Bonn and Delhi avenues.
And reason for naming these Delhi, Bonn, or because it involved three places: Delhi government, Tamil Nadu government, and Western government. That's why they named it after the different governments involved. You asked about some questions about personalities of like Natarajan, Sampath. We already discussed good about Natarajan and Sampath also.
Professor Sengupta, did you?
Sengupta didn't mingle much with students, but he was not away also, but he was not that involved.
He was taking classes.
He
was taking classes.
He was taking classes. So he was
regular classes.
certainly part of the faculty and
Mrs. Sengupta was supposed to be a gracious hostess, and she was known as being the first lady of the campus, I believe. Is that right?
but we didn't have.
We had no occasion to meet her.
And this
we were
temple that you see now, the Jalakanteshwari temple, that was not in existence when
Not
we
there
were.
at that time.
Yeah. So, in fact, I don't remember there was any temple at all within the campus. I don't remember.
And lake, the Amman Koila or something, we don't know. We are not gone also.
No, even that came up later. It was not there.
It was not there.
We never had any temple inside the campus.
No temples. Right.
No temple, no shopping facilities except the last year. We got
Yeah,
it. Otherwise
that
no
came
shop.
up only in the last year. There was
So
no
we had to go
shopping.
to Adayar, and the buses used to go up to Adayar.
Yes.
So
Names were Everest, Kanchenjunga, Dhaulagiri. These are all names of mountains.
I see.
They were the buses. And you used to play up to.
When did the buses start, sir? I mean, right from the 61?
No, not from 61.
No, I think it was there even when we came in. That was 59, 60, 60, 61.
61.
So,
61.
60, middle of 61 or towards
At
end
the
of
time it was
61,
there.
I think they started.
when we
Yes.
came here, the buses were there.
Buses were there.
And they were ticketed. You had to pay for them.
Yeah.
Tickets.
Is it so?
I
Yes.
think so.
Yes, yes.
I think so.
think-
I
You had to
think
pay
so.
some nominal
I think
fee. But I think they also had a transport within the IIT. Gate to this. Actually, I believe they started like gate to, because they up to main road, you can, what they call SP road, Sardar Patel road.
No,
you
that
can
was done
come.
later.
To begin with.
No, that wasn't later. Initially, it was up to Adayar.
Up to there, yes.
Because
I
that's the only
remember.
place where we can go for shopping, etc.
Yes.
So it was changed to within gate later on, subsequently. So
Because
initially it
gates,
was up to
buses
Adayar.
don't go outside.
Huh?
buses
Now
don't-
it don't go, but earlier it was.
Really, it was always
It was
going to
ticketed.
there.
It was ticketed.
It was ticketed, yes.
Yeah.
And the
I think recently Professor Anant removed the ticketing system, saying that by having ticketing, you spend more than what you earn. So, from a cost consideration, he removed this ticketing system.
It could well be.
Yes, he told us. He told us
It's
that
true. It's true.
you have to have drivers and conductors and shift wise, and what you pay, you don't recover. So why have a ticket? Just leave it out.
The connection Anand, he was from AC College. Where we had education in the same place. Of course, he came much later, maybe 67 batch or so. He did his chemical engineering, then went abroad, he came and selected in America perhaps, and then...
Anything else of interest that
The
you should share?
convocation, your convocation.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was
The
Open
chief
Air
guest-
Theatre,
Yes.
Radhakrishnan was the man.
Professor Radhakrishnan.
We all got our certificates. Tangavelu was the president's gold medalist.
Gold medalist.
Mun Gopalakrishnan was my classmate. He is no more, unfortunately. He was
was
the
the silver.
governor's. They gave him a prize for overall, general presidency, what it was called. He got a medal from, that's called governor's medal. I think it is also now available, I think.
Yeah.
President's medal, gold medal, and governor's medal. Yes, Gopalakrishnan. It so happened they're all mechanical engineering. And of course, when we joined, and then when branch selection was there, most of us wanted to come to mechanical engineering.
That was it's a seasonal trend. At that time, civil engineering, this thing was waning out. Mechanical was becoming the most sought after engineering. Then it changes from time to time.
And then some of you have had associations with the Alumni Association, which was formed immediately after that.
That's a question that attracts me maximum.
For you.
Because I spend maximum time in this. To tell you honestly, we didn't have an association like this at all. What it is today is a very big place, separate office, so much of buildings, infrastructure, computers. When we started, we didn't have a room of our own to begin with. Then we had to, at director's courtesy, we got a place, we got a room. Then association started slowly but surely. And I knew, because it was like labor banks, when something is born, the pains are there. It is very difficult even to get people to come to IIT, because IIT campus was inside, people even, not many were staying in Madras, many alumni cannot reach, difficult. But fortunately, I was in Adayar, and then my company was having all this on Mondays. So normally I used to be the vice president for many years. I have seen a lot of research. Now Radhakrishnan was the man who took me. He was our teacher in mechanical engineering. He taught us metrology. When he was the vice president,
For many years, the association was dormant. There was not much of activity.
In fact, no, activity-wise, nobody.
I was also holding the office for about 3 years, but it was not fruitful.
In fact, that is later actually.
Much
In
later.
the beginning was more.
Much
Actually,
later.
very difficult. Quorum will not be there. To have the election, there will be no quorum. Like that it was there. But slowly it picked up.
And also when people pass out and then they go out, the communications and the social media was absent. Very difficult to get to know who is where and how to communicate, collect all that is so difficult in those days.
And this more a personal work. I used to spend a lot of time, and I had holidays on Mondays. So people were so nice to me, because I would ask them to have the meeting. But I can't come on a regular working day from Ashok Leyland. Busy work there. So Mondays I used to have the meeting, because I was the vice president. I can. Those days the presidents and treasurer were nominated by the director. Today the whole bylaws are changed. Anybody can become, he should be an alumnus. That's all the criteria. Those days IIT staff only will be the president. Vice president, joint secretary, two or something like that, they will be the outside students, alumni. Staff alumni will be the... It
is in the recent years that the alumni, this thing has revived and has taken to a totally different dimension today.
It has become global now.
Yeah.
Because reach, it was global. Those days, even it is more or less limited to Madras. Madras fellows only used to be here. Only the activities like we arrange in a big way or silver union. When we finished 25 years, we had our own union, and then where we made that. Even for that, it was difficult to get the people. I had to call personally. Today things are we send email, almost everybody had it, but we had to call to stay. You had very good question as what about the first batch address and all. In fact that day we made a directory, must be available with you. Hot copy was there. Whenever the That too not very early. 1998 we made a directory.
Okay.
It's available in hard copy. We said which year, which batch and all. So we formed it 1964, batch wise. That we have. Of course, address as on that day and whatever was available to me. We had to do some work and we coordinated with some different. I used to have one batch each year, 64 one man, 65 one man. I used to be a 64 and a 65 one man. We used to collect the address and it was made like this. The address as of that day, where they are working, phone number, whatever. This is there. Later on, also brought in a CD form. I think it's already in a CD form now. Whether they got the latest one made, I don't know.
That's a database now. The activity of collecting database and then.
In fact, it is something like pioneer activity. This directory was one of the first activities, and because we were first batch, we had the initiative. We took the initiative. Silver Union was there, 25 years. We met. But only thing is our batch strength about 92 or something only totally was there. So this quantity was not that much. Nowadays it becomes strength is more per year. So they are able to do in a bigger scale. Then
is there anything else of significance?
After Silver Union, then we thought we'll have the Pearl Union, Coral Union, like that. Plus to have these years became more, then we said we'll have simultaneously the Coral, Pearl, Silver, Gold, all that we said we'll do together. So now the crowd is also more now. Different batches, 64 batch on the one program, after some years, after years a gap, 10 years or like that. So 4 or 5 programs will almost run simultaneously now. That is what is happening now.
When you look back on one's life, 5 years is not a big sum. We are now all 74, 73 like that, and 5 years in one's life is not a great deal. But the 5 years that we spent in IIT Madras is the greenest in our memory. I think I can say that also on behalf of my colleagues. It is the greenest in our memory. Not only it is a very green patch in our memory, but it also spread that feeling of goodness, feeling of prosperity, feeling of being useful to society and useful to yourself for the rest of our lives also. So the foundation that IIT Madras gave us, and the stature that as a first batch, the sort of prestige that you have, is something that we will always cherish.
We had the responsibility of creating an image for IIT those days. We had the responsibility as the first batch coming out, and I do hope that we had done a fairly good job of creating the image, and that image later on did help us in our career. So wherever you go, the fact that you are from IIT gives you an advantage of others looking at you in a different manner, in a more respectable manner.
It's been a good evening sharing our experiences with you.
If you want to be the orator, like you can say, I am what I am because of IIT Madras.
So thank you very much.
And in fact, we used to make some small thing we made. We used to give for some of our annual meetings. This is what we gave. IIT did have some faults, but we can't leave IIT. We still come back. Then we remembered William Cooper. This is a famous example. This was given to almost who all participated those days on one of the meetings. Yes. In fact, very modest. It was packed like this. Please read.
With IIT, with all the faults, I love thee still. William Cooper.
Because that is his quotation actually. Yes. So he said the apologies to William Cooper. In fact, it was packed like this to make it attractive.
Okay.
It was made when I was one year as vice president. This was made, and we had almost some of the very good active support was there. Some secretaries were also very good. They took some active part. When VC Jacob was there in the 3rd year or so, he was quite active as a secretary. Like that, we had a good time. Anyway, I hope whether we are satisfied, I don't know.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.